These days, Israel is in a war, what can be called, and as someone who is citizen in that country, it's like in one side I understand why to justify the war as a self-defense from the attempt to be annihilated, because in the past we can see few times such attempt. Especially the last one was very systematic. And it seems that the current one is also quite intensely holding. At the same time, also seeing the other side of the horrors of the other side as well, feeling probably more horror even as a response. And I think most people in both sides just are not into that war in general. They prefer to stop fighting and talk more, or just not talk and not disturb each other. And it's like it's bringing me to think like some of the arguments is okay, so there is a side that says the state of Israel should not exist, and maybe there is something in it. Like then I'm thinking, what's the justification for the country of Israel? So yes, the Jewish people were in the Second World War. There was an attempt to kill systematically this race, like on a race basis, among others as well, that there was systematic attempt to kill also cripples or like people who are less able. It was a genetic utopia, kind of like. And yeah, so it's like a safe place to make a country to preserve this ethnicity, though. And then, okay, in Israel there is a big conversation or challenge since the beginning between Israel being a national or Israeli, like, or Jew in English. It's yeah, then Jew. It's both religion and both nationality in the country of Israel. Yeah, it's multi-layered in a way. The nationality is possibly to say Israeli, but then why? What would signify Israel to be just another country? Why won't it be part of same country? Why to distinguish it? So there is the religious aspect, but then there is the history that is written in Hebrew, and it's possible to say, at least this is what I find, the language is kind of more justification than any set of beliefs, any mythology, or any narrative of identity. Also in relation to location, actually. It's just the language itself. There is no country in the world that Hebrew is its native language, except Israel. And for many years there was not. It's yeah, I mean, it can possibly exist without country, just the Hebrew, and in a way it have been to some degree. But like, what if all the world would speak just one language? In a way it's easier, but also in a way it's more boring. It's less not only evolving the intellect, because every language is a different way of thinking and kind of wires the brain differently. Like Chinese, for example, is a whole other thing than all the phonetic languages, which each letter is a phonema, like a vowel or consonant. So also, yeah, Chinese have much contribution, and in the letters themselves there is that picture that represents a lot of history. So whether it's religiously believed or just as addition to the human creation, so language is one of the things that humanity creates. And Hebrew have its uniqueness, and I would suggest even like no other language in all the phonetic languages, in the sense that there is a lot of depth in that original cognitive technology, in a way, like language as a technology of consciousness, how to know itself as well. Like our perception is determined by the language through how it defines time or relativity in any aspect, like spatial or quantitative or qualitative, and also the genderization aspect of the language. It's also something in perception, like for example in Hebrew there is no possibility for objective or third person objective object, which means non-genderized. There is not the possibility of it with the he, she and it, the third person. There is no option of such, and it's either genderized to the masculine or the feminine side, which is a lack in a way, but in other aspects there is much depth to the level of meaning of each word as part of the structure of creation, and very specific way to relate the letters to each other, to numbers, and there is a lot of depth in it. And in this also, etymologically, the folklore, the history, the stories are kind of coming to some type of expression, multi-layered expression. And of course there is the Bible, originally in Hebrew, is I guess the most bought book ever or something like that. So it have quite an influence as well, historically, on the way of thinking, and from that there is a perception. And talking in this language every day does something, and it's like a key to go to the deeper aspects of the geometry between the letters and with the numbers, and such map that represent the code structure of the universe, quite with alignment with the string theories and or the standard model of the quantum physics. So there is, like, also in Chinese there are amazing treasures in the language that it would be a loss to not have. Like, it's very sad, the burn of the library in Alexandria, for example. That's a disaster that influenced us until now very much, because knowledge, also stories, this is treasures that languages have to give to humanity as one entity that can perceive itself, or the story of being and of life and what is, perceive it in a variety of ways. And also with logic we learn to expand it essentially, yet yeah, it's still, the base tells a lot and have much value. So in a way I see the main, or possibly even the only justification in principle, like abstractly, for why State of Israel would be a contribution to humanity, is in that sense that this language is preserved and becoming another spring of inspiration for the human culture. The fact there are some number of millions that speak this language keeps it rich, and yeah, it's a source of perspectives, same as any other language. But then again, yeah, like also in the phonetic languages, the Sanskrit is what is called a holy language, that also the idea that every letter represents the vibration of the creation. In the Hebrew there is that aspect as well, yet there is another aspect of it's like not only the words, the roots of the verb or adjective, it's also, and of course time perception, first, second, third person, possibly fourth person perspective, or the connecting words like if or and yeah, and then each letter as holding a meaning in itself, also in the shape aspect, but also in a deeper layer there is that law that connects all